Cheer! What is going on, everybody? It is yours truly, the Ace, here with a spoiler-filled review to Deadpool and Wolverine. The biggest movie of the year by a lot of us content creators. So being that it's one of the biggest movies, I had to bring on a special dais today because of how epic this movie is. Got a couple special guests on today. We got Frank from Geek Spot News, my guy T from Have You Seen That with T, and my boy Zach from Zach Milne Talks Movies. Kenny Sparks is on the way. He'll be here soon. But thank you guys for popping on. How you guys doing? Speaking of Kenny, here he is. What up, Ken?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Hey,
How's it
What's up?
going?
Came just in
Gentlemen.
time. Kenny Sparks is here. We're here to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, the biggest movie of the year. T, we're going to start with you. What were your thoughts on this movie, and did it meet your expectations?
So I came into this movie with low expectations. I didn't want a multiverse of madness myself into like just having these heightened expectations of just something that the movie ultimately would never live up to. Like not too many movies. I'm a big Endgame fan. That was like the apex of all superhero movies, at least in my eyes. And that ever since then, No Way Home was great, but I went into this movie just kind of with tempered expectations, and this movie exceeded them. Like, of course, like if the bar is really low, it's really hard to go below the bar unless you're Madam Web. But this movie did everything that I thought it would do. It was a very Deadpool movie with a lot of Logan sprinkled in, and it just worked. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun in the theater. The cameos were great, but they didn't overdo it with cameos, which was also fantastic. They didn't just throw 500 people in there, in some end game level battle at the end. It just was a fun movie.
Nice, nice. Also, once again, for those that don't know, this is a spoiler-filled review. You guys have been warned. By the time this video comes out, it's live on the channel for the members. By the time it comes out, it'll be a couple of days, but you guys have been warned. Frank, I saw you laughing over there when T said Multiverse of Madness. I know how much you love that movie. What were your thoughts going into Deadpool and Wolverine?
I had the same expectations T did. I didn't want to hype myself up the way I hyped up for Multiverse of Madness. So I was excited. It was like a minefield avoiding the spoilers on the internet from the premiere to when I went to see it Thursday night. It exceeded same as T said. It exceeded the expectations I had set, which is a great thing. Again, the cameos were spot on. They added to the movie and they didn't just sit there and like flashes, some of them flashed, but they mostly added to the movie and to the plot overall. Um, I thought it was a great movie. I mean, I saw it twice, once alone, once with my son. He thought it was great, and he's not as into everything. He hasn't followed all the movies along, and he was laughing the whole time. And that to me told me it was a good movie because if you don't know everything that's been happening all along, this is a good place to kind of come in and set up for what they have going forward.
Very nice. It's good that it could translate well to the casual fans, but I do feel like you do get a semblance of appreciation if you do follow it from beginning to the end. Zach, what were your thoughts on the overall movie?
I mean, look, we've been talking about it for 2 years since that Hugh Jackman announcement in 2022.
Hey, Hugh, you want to play Wolverine one more time?
Yeah, sure, Ryan.
So I think Deadpool and Wolverine has come out of my mouth at least 10 times a day since then. So it's going to be actually really weird not to say Deadpool and Wolverine for a little bit from now. My wife will be very happy, but it's going to be kind of weird not to talk about it for a little bit. It was expectations through the roof for me for a lot of reasons. There was so much speculation, a lot of rumors, a lot of talk from both inside the industry and outside the industry. And I think that ultimately it didn't reach my expectations, but I'm not going to put that on the movie either because the movie that it ended up being, I thought was true to Deadpool, was true to what the Deadpool movies have been, and succeeded at what it needed to do, which was make you laugh and be entertained.
Kenny, what were your thoughts on the overall movie?
So I thought the movie was a really fun time. I think like a lot of the cameos really they delivered, because a lot of the cameo. So I stayed away from all the spoilers and stuff like that. Once the trailer with X-23 dropped, and I didn't even watch that trailer. I just started seeing all those images everywhere. I was like, you know what? It's time to delete the app. So I deleted Threads, X, and Facebook. Like I just deleted everything. I was like, I'm just gonna watch a bunch of stuff, bunch of movies, and catch up on stuff this week. So I went in there pretty much spoiler free. So I had a great time, especially when Blade showed up. That was like my brain exploded. Same thing with Gambit, and like so all the cameos were really good. I thought the story was paper thin, to be honest with you, but at the same time, like that has been the Deadpool franchise. We're not here for, like the most, I don't know, what would you call it? Like the most influential, like life changing story type experience. I'm here for fun. You know what I mean? So in Deadpool, I'm here for Juggernaut. I didn't know he was in it, but once he was there, I was like, yes, here we go. So throughout this entire film, I was just having a lot of fun. The more I step away from it, the more I'm like, there's some issues here. But at the same time, it is a lot of fun. So that's pretty much where I'm going at. And then I know we'll have time to talk more about some other things, but I have a lot of thoughts about some of the great things that they did in this movie. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. Definitely say it's the most fun time that I had in the theater. For a Marvel movie, especially in a long time. This was just a joyride from beginning to the end. It was a nonstop like smile on my face the entire time, and it was really good. I would say it definitely meted my expectations right there. Didn't exceed it, didn't decrease it. It was kind of right there. But at the forefront of this movie are obviously the two leads, Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman. In my opinion, put on two great performances. They are, in my opinion, the best performances that we've seen from Wolverine and Deadpool. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Zach, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think they both gave spectacular performances. I think Ryan Reynolds was very like top notch. Ryan Reynolds in this, I thought, because he's been away from Deadpool for 6 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But he came back, didn't skip a beat. I thought his meta humor was top notch. I thought his pulp culture references were great. Best use of bye 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 I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Hugh Jackman, though, I think that he was the standout for me because he had more of pressure on this performance because of how great Logan is. And Logan is kind of supposed to be the wrap up of that character, his final goodbye. And he gave such a gravitas, emotional, and just hard hitting performance in Logan that it was like, okay, now you're bringing that character into a comedy with Deadpool. How's this going to be for an encore? And I thought it was a very worthy encore because he was still able to give a bunch of layers and levels to the Wolverine character. He's not just making yuck jokes with Deadpool. He has a story going on inside of him, which is really shown through Hugh Jackman's performance. And you get a lot of raging Wolverine in this movie, which is always great to see. So I thought Hugh Jackman absolutely killed it. I thought Ryan Reynolds was top-notch Ryan Reynolds. I thought they worked together so well.
I don't know what else I could say that Zach and T haven't said, and Kenny, but the performances were outstanding by both of them. There were a lot of tongue in cheek jokes. There were a lot of goofy, silly moments, but like Zach was saying, Hugh Jackman just stepped to a whole nother level with this character, and I think because of the director and because of Ryan, they were able to give him a little bit more freedom to delve into that character, where when he was with Fox, they kind of had it, no comic books on set, no, we want to stay away from this, we want to keep away from this, and there were good performances, but he wasn't really allowed to kind of open up into that character as much as he did here. And Ryan Reynolds is always great in this role. I mean, a lot of people say he's just every movie he plays Ryan Reynolds. But it works for him. I mean, in the Welcome to Wrexham show, he's Ryan Reynolds, and in the movies, he's Ryan Reynolds. And it works for him though. And it's funny, and he does it just enough where it's not too much where you're looking at him going, "Oh, all right, stop now." I thought the two of them were and they have such chemistry on screen. Their chemistry was popping off on screen every time they were together. The car scene was absolutely one of the coolest fights that I think I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. And then with the addition of, Chris Evans, I would love to see a movie with them three going forward. How epic would that
That,
be?
that would be great.
Yeah. So one of the things I really want to give Ryan credit for is the way that he portrays Deadpool. If you notice, like I think there was something I noticed like towards the end of the movie when he took his mask off, I think to talk to Vanessa, like he had his mask on pretty much the entirety of the film, and that's not something that we get a lot of with superhero films, especially when you have like his mask is fully covering his face, right? So his dedication to the character, like the character never strayed from who Deadpool really is, and I really appreciated that. And on the I'm about to call him Logan, on the Hugh Jackman side, I love the fact that he got to play different versions of Wolverine throughout the multiverse. I think it looked like he was having such a great time just embracing all of that from Patch to like the actual 4-foot Wolverine, which is hilarious because thank you so much, Ryan Reynolds, for giving me another piece of evidence that comic book accuracy isn't always the best thing. Like, so I am like hugely appreciative of both of their performances, especially with Hugh Jackman having to play the straight man to Deadpool. He did it so well. Frank mentioned it. He never like veered into the weirdness of Deadpool. And just like we were mentioning with Deadpool, as Frank mentioned as well, never like went too far. There were parts in the movie where he was told to shut up, and that it was actually important for him to shut up at those points because it could become overbearing. There are parts in this movie, especially with the writing, when they finally jump through the portal, through the Doctor Strange portal or the magic portal, and Ryan Reynolds turns to the camera and says, "Trust me, we're in like the final stretch of this movie." Like it's so self-aware, and the movie is super self-aware of itself. And Ryan Reynolds' performance, I give a lot of the credit to Ryan Reynolds because, in my opinion, this is Ryan Reynolds' baby, even if it has the MCU logo on it. So
So they were like just perfect. They had perfect synergy as like that buddy cop, which I love. Like I love buddy cop movies. Um, but Frank mentioned the scene in the car, and I thought that was one of the best scenes in the movie because Hugh just like loses it and just goes in on him. And for
yeah,
the first time in the movie, Deadpool actually shuts up because before that, he just, I mean, like split second, like he would just come back. He had a retort for everything anybody said. He would barely let you get words out of your mouth before he came back. But he just, there was that silence. He said, "I'm gonna fight you right now." And I
yeah,
felt that so much.
that
Like
was
that was
great.
one of the
Yeah,
best scenes. It was like, because I was wondering what he was gonna say back. Like he was just gathering his thoughts to like have this retort. And he said, "I'm gonna," and they had one with that car fight
hmm
was one of the best fights, if not the best fight of the movie. Because I mean, they just went all out and they just went for hours. I thought that was clever, like how he's wrapped up in the seatbelt.
Seatbelts.
That got a good laugh in the theater. That was
Yes.
hilarious.
Just I mean, just a great scene. That just goes to show you they didn't change Wolverine for this movie. They didn't
right.
change Deadpool for this movie. They didn't try to make them, they didn't try to pacify either one of the characters or hamstring them into, Wolverine being in a Deadpool movie or Deadpool being in a Wolverine movie. They let both of them be themselves. And both actors just killed it. Like I was a big fan of finally seeing the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine on screen. Like I love the Age of Apocalypse storyline, and I love that character. Like the Weapon X or whatever. I think they called him Weapon X in Age of Apocalypse, and just seeing that on the big screen was just amazing for me. And then you had the Calverine, like it was just great stuff. But just back to Hugh Jackman and I want to call him Wade Wilson. Uh,
It's because
why
they're
not?
like so synonymous with these
Yeah,
roles. Like you feel that I had a problem with that during my reviews the whole time where I'm trying to say Ryan Reynolds and I'm saying
Yes.
Deadpool. I'm like, you know.
Yes, but yeah, they were fantastic together, man. I mean, you just best buddy cop duo. I wouldn't say that Bad Boys pretty good, but yeah, this is a good buddy cop duo. Or buddy duo, not cops, but yeah,
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 you get
got you. So yeah, I agree with everything you guys were saying. It was just their performances, like I said, I think were top tier. Ryan Reynolds has such an understanding of this character, along with Hugh Jackman as well. And they added a lot of more heart to the Hugh Jackman character. We saw some previously in Logan, so we know that, and we all know Hugh Jackman's such a great actor. We know
Yeah.
that he can get into that bag anytime he wants. But the way they added that heart with the the X-23 scene was really good as well, because you feel the regret, you feel the remorse from the character, and I thought it just added to how great their character dynamic was ultimately at the end of the day. So obviously we'll get into cameos. Obviously, that was the biggest thing going into this movie. Who was gonna be in it? Who wasn't? What role were they gonna play? This was advertised as a lot of cameos, to the point where they, because they shot on set, they had to fake a lot of scenes, they had to fake a lot of pictures too, because it was getting leaked. Cameo wise, what did you guys think about the various cameos throughout this movie?
I thought they did it just right. I thought the bad guy cameos were a little bit more in the background, and they kind of put the more hero-ish type cameos in the forefront. Seeing Chris Evans pop up, you had that half a second of, "Oh my god, is he really gonna be Captain America?" Even though the Johnny Storm thing got leaked a long time ago, and the Elektra thing got leaked a long time ago, I kinda put it out of my mind by the time the movie came up. That scene was done so well, because you really didn't know, is it gonna be Johnny Storm? And it was only a couple of seconds before they revealed it. It was so well done. The Wolverine cameos, the different Wolverines were great. The Henry Cavill one was, to me, that was the second best for me. I'm a huge Henry Cavill fan. I was a huge fan of his Superman. To have him over in the Marvel Universe, even if this is just a one-off for him, I thought that was a great, great, great cameo. And the Gambit, I mean, I know everybody loves Blade, and everybody, I thought the Gambit cameo was great, and the inside jokes that they told throughout his dialogue was just spot on perfect. Like, they
Yeah.
nailed it to a T. I thought we had such high hopes. I know, Dom, you and I had talked a lot about the Multiverse of Madness. We had such high hopes for those cameos, and I'm a huge John Krasinski fan, and it
I'm
was
Dom, by the way. They don't know me as Dom. I'm Dom, by the way.
Oh,
It's funny.
oh, are you?
Today, I was like, I don't know that man's first name. I don't know that man's real name.
I thought your name was just Ace.
For those that don't know on the Ace Avenue, it's Dom.
I'm so
So
used to calling you Tom. But we talked about those cameos, and it was just such a, like, the air came out of the balloon. This movie did the exact opposite, and the cameos were part of the story and led gravitas to what was going on. And it was just such a great, great job.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then on top of that, with the jokes that they added to there, it was just such a good time. Like with the Cavill joke, they're like, "We'll treat you a lot better than they will across the street," which is like kicking DC while they're down.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
quite a few franchises.
So it's interesting because I don't actually view them as cameos.
mm,
Spider-Man No Way Home did a really interesting thing where when the other two Peters show up, they don't just show, like, to me a cameo is Happy in the beginning of the movie where he shows up for a scene and he's gone. Just like Spider-Man No Way Home, once they show up, they're a part of the film.
yep.
And I thought that was a great way to use them, because you can have people pop in and out, but to make them actually real characters, have lines, have purpose in the film, that makes it a little bit more than a cameo to me. So I thought that they did a really good job of balancing these characters, especially these characters from very different franchises from across the universe. And technically, they're all variants of the ones that we knew. But at the same time, we know Wesley Snipes is Blade. We know Jennifer Garner is Elektra. Actually, Frank, Elektra was the only one I was privy to like a year ago. Other than that, I had no idea who was going to be in this movie. And that's why I was so upset about the X-23 thing, because I was like, maybe, but you never know. The person who I did want to see was Tom Holland. I did want to see Spider-Man show up in this at some point. Even when Deadpool was doing the little flip thing in the car, I was like, is Spider-Man going to show up? He didn't, but it's fine because he doesn't need to. Like the cameos to me actually had to feed the story, and they sometimes the characters that are added actually have to feed the story, which they did really well. So I thought that the cameos, the appearances, whatever you want to call it, were really good throughout the film. I did wish we got a little bit more with like Sabretooth and Wolverine. That kind of ended really quick, but at the same time, they weren't the point of the movie. So, or I should say, Sabretooth wasn't the point of the movie. And I think we could. I guess we'll talk about the post-credit scene later, but that was funny as hell. Because when Deadpool gets a Human Torch killed, I was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was actually like, "Deadpool, this seems a little wild, even for you. You're going to get this man killed." But oh yeah, Chris Evans, great. I had no idea he was going to be in the movie. I didn't know Human Torch was in it. And so when he showed up, I'm thinking Cap, but no, when he said "flame on," I about lost my mind. So yeah, man, it was great, man. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, they definitely set that part up really well because he was disguised well, and then you could even see some red, white, and blue around his arms. So you're like, this might be Cap. And then when he's like get close, and then you see Deadpool hugging on him, especially with how he was fanning out to him in the TVA where he was like Cap, it was set up perfectly. Then he's like, "Here comes Avengers Assemble." Instead, it's like "Flame on." That was definitely a clap worthy moment too, man.
Yeah,
I thought the cameos were done really well. I did not think they were gonna get Chris Evans. So I use this as a running joke. I'm old, so I forget a lot of things. So when spoilers happen, if a spoiler happened a year ago, I promise you I forgot it by the time the movie comes out. Like I will like because one, I want to go into the movie as fresh as possible.
yeah,
I tried to watch, especially last week on Zach's channel, they were talking about this last trailer, and thank God I didn't see that trailer. Like that would have not ruined it for me, but it would have really taken away because when I saw Daphne King come on the screen, I was like, wow. Like one, she's grown up, she's not a little girl anymore. And I really love like rewatching Logan. I was like, man, she deserves a place in the MCU. Like she
yeah,
does. Her as an actress, her as a character, there is a spot for her somewhere in the MCU to really be great. So, getting it when I saw the size, I think that's what they call. I was like, "Oh, Electra, okay, got it. All right, that rumor's true." But when Blade walked in, the whole entire theater was like, "Oh," like it was like, man, and my heart was just like, "Wow, yes, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted." Then he says the line about there's never going to be another Blade, and in my mind, I'm like, that's such a meta joke because we might not see
might
it.
be
We
true.
may
You're right.
not see it.
If you're
We
Mahershala
Deadpool
really
gives
Ali,
may
that
not.
look.
yeah.
Deadpool gives
You
that look
know,
to the camera.
If you're
yeah.
Mahershala Ali, though, do you look at that and you're like, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm done.
No,
I don't think so.
because I think when he was named to, when he was cast as Blade, I was like, all right, that makes sense, right? He's a great actor.
yeah,
He fits the part. He looks the part, right? But just seeing Wesley on screen one more time, and like you just, part of me hoped it wasn't the last time. I was like, man, he still looks good. He's still like he didn't look like old man Logan.
Yeah.
He did not look like old man Logan, which is another like all of the different Wolverines of different times and different eras in the X-Men comics was fantastic. But yeah, I thought the X-23 was like that scene where her talking to Wolverine and tell him, you're always the wrong choice, or you would always the wrong one.
Mm,
Such a powerful, like very understated, but such a powerful like scene, and they have such great chemistry. I would love to see those two do something else, whether it's in the MCU. Like I just think that there's so much there with the X-23 and Wolverine character that you can move forward. Let him grow into old man Wolverine and let her, become Wolverine. Like
yeah,
I think it's possible. But seeing this movie, it just shows me it's possible. But yeah, like just that whole scene, that whole group, and then the Gambit. Holy man, that was funny. Like, and I swear to you, every time Gambit spoke, he spoke in a different Cajun accent. Like he had a different accent every time he spoke, which made it even funnier. Like I was sitting there and I was laughing every time he spoke. I just laughed because Channing Tatum understands the assignment. When he's a cameo in a movie, he always does great because he knows who he is, right? He's this, good looking Hollywood leading man, and he just leans into whatever you want him to lean into. Every single cameo he's done, he's self-deprecating, he's self-aware, and he just does it because one, he's like, man, like, and that just shows you he's sure of himself, right? He knows who he is as an actor, and he just had fun, and that was hilarious. Like the whole Gambit thing was so funny to me.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah,
talks about Sling Blade and he talks about
Yeah.
the dialect coach. I thought that
Yeah.
man, just fun time at the movie theater.
Yeah. Oh, you got to be, confident in yourself. You're Channing Tatum, especially after that. This is the end cameo he did.
Yeah, exactly. Like
You got to be
he
confident to
gets
have
it.
that scene.
He gets
But
it.
the thing that I take away with the cameos is that they were major plot points. You know what I'm saying? They helped drive the story forward as well. Gambit was badass in that, man. To see his abilities on display, like when he brought out the bow staff, I was like, okay. Like they're not playing around. They're actually, and I feel like with his outfit, with his costume, they made it super over the top to
Oh, yeah.
kind of joke around and stuff like that. And it just played perfectly. So Zach, right? So you had watched the final trailer. So you had saw
Yep.
Daphne Keene. Okay, I want your thoughts on the cameo, but I want to know, do you wish that you wouldn't have watched that? And did it kind of like take it away from you? Like, how did you feel about that?
Well, first I should say I saw the picture first on Twitter. I saw the
Okay.
picture on Twitter, and so I was like annoyed by that. But then I was like, okay, I'll watch the final trailer, because I was kind of thinking too of like, I'm probably gonna get asked about it on my live stream, the final trailer. I've already seen the Daphne Keene thing, so I'll just watch the final trailer. And that was the only real spoiler I would say that was in that final trailer. It was at the end of the trailer. They have her turn around and say to Logan, "You were always the wrong guy."
You got the wrong guy.
You were always the wrong guy. Till you weren't.
And that's your big reveal. And yeah, like I said when we talked about it off stream, if I had not seen that final trailer and that happened in the movie, probably like instant tears would happen, because I love Logan and I love that relationship with it. So I already knew about Daphne Keene, and Elektra was confirmed in like Variety like a year and a half ago. So we already knew Elektra was coming. I think I might be the most mellow on the cameos. I thought the cameos were okay. I think the excitement, since we're talking about an R-rated movie, I think we had 2 years of foreplay, and the cameo reveals were the release that we were finally waiting to get, because it was just the knowledge of finally knowing who was in the movie. I thought Chris Evans as Johnny Storm was probably my most exciting one, because I did see those Fantastic Four movies when I was like really young in the theater. I'm not really attached to them, but Chris Evans just being back in the MCU, just having his face on screen felt so comforting and such a warmth that even if he wasn't Captain America, it was just nice seeing him back. And I thought that he played it so well, because it didn't feel like Cap. It felt like Johnny Storm from the Tim Story Fantastic Fours, but with an edge, because he's been through some crap where he's been living. So all the vulgar language and stuff that he was saying, I thought worked so well. I think the cameos worked for me personally very well, because this movie, I don't really view this as like a real true MCU movie. This isn't really MCU. This isn't Deadpool saves the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is more so Deadpool dips his toe into the MCU. He visits the MCU. But what I found interesting about this movie was this movie is kind of commenting on how, 20th Century Fox, they were doing Marvel movies before the Marvel Cinematic Universe existed. They are responsible for bringing a lot of Marvel characters to the screen for the very first time, introducing a lot of us to Marvel characters for the very first time. And I feel like when Iron Man started in 2008 and the Marvel Cinematic Universe took off, we all kind of started to poo-poo on the 20th Century Fox quite a bit. We kind of the MCU overshadowed what Fox had been doing, and of course they ended so poorly with Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, and they kind of been a butt of the joke when it comes to the superhero genre. So I felt this movie was very much kind of saying in a very meta way that the MCU is great. It's on a pedestal, but it's not the be all end all, and there's worth to be saved and salvaged in the Fox universe. And I feel like the cameos coming in, and especially with like Elektra and Blade kind of talking about how some people like forgot about us. We are heroes that should be remembered, and we're not. And we just want a happy ending. We want to get that recognition that we deserve. And I felt in that way the cameos really worked to fit that narrative and that theme that they were going for the movie. But unlike No Way Home, I'm not really emotionally invested in Elektra. So Jennifer Gardner coming back was cool to see her here, but as I wasn't that invested. I think the most invested I was in was Blade, because I like Blade quite a bit. So it was really cool to see what he was. He was the one that made my jaw drop when Wesley Snipes came on. I was like, wow. I didn't think that there was any mending of bridges to have this happen. Even the line where he says to Deadpool, "I don't like you," and Deadpool says, "You never did." I thought that was
That
great.
was hilarious.
I thought that whole scene too with the others, as they call them when the cameos came in, was such inside meta jokes that, because I follow movie entertainment news and all the behind the scenes stuff, like with Gambit stuff, I was the only person laughing in the theater for all of the Gambit stuff, because I could tell it was just over everyone's head of like, Channing Tatum wanted this character for so long. He almost got the character. He almost got the movie made, and it just never happened. And the whole character, all the dialogue, all the jokes were centered around how he never actually happened. Like the joke where they're talking about how people have forgotten them, and he says, "Or never had the chance to even know them." Like I thought, like all that was so great on a meta Deadpool level that I thought it worked very well. But I do feel like first viewing wise, it worked the best, and I feel like repeat viewings, it's kind of going to lose its muster just a little bit. But for the theme of the movie that I found, I thought it worked really well.
And one of the things that I thought really, I'm sorry.
No, go. You're good.
Yeah, one of the things I thought that Marvel did really intelligently was validate everyone's fandom. Like through these cameos that they brought in, they're saying, "Hey, no, we know we're the MCU and what have you, but if this is your favorite thing, this is real. This is valid. We didn't just like say this is not a shot at Star Wars at all whatsoever. We didn't just say, hey, Legends doesn't exist, right? Like this doesn't exist anymore. We embrace all the things that you grew up with your fandom. They did that with the Spider-Man movies, with those cameos, and now they're doing it with the Fox cameos, and even to the tribute at the end of the movie, which I thought was brilliant and really well done, because it
Yeah.
reminded me of how much I enjoyed those movies growing up.
Mhm.
And even the ones I didn't enjoy, I'm like, but people worked really hard on those, and there are fans of those movies. And I thought that Marvel, Deadpool, whoever was in charge of that, did a really good job at helping validate, because now you haven't alienated anyone from
Yeah.
enjoying the movies going forward. Everybody knows that they're real, and they could appear again in Secret Wars or what have you. So now people have something to look forward to. So yeah, I thought that was really intelligent on their part.
To that
Yeah.
point, though, I also did feel like, I wonder if there's anyone that's gonna be a little mad knowing that like Johnny Storm is now dead from Fantastic Four, and like Daredevil's dead, the Punishers that they probably liked are dead. Daphne Keane
Mhm.
got pruned at the end of Logan. Like, I wonder if there's like anyone that's gonna be a little bit annoyed that we kind of know that that's the character's fates. But it's also nice that they also acknowledge that they saved Elektra and Blade and all of them at the end there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I actually thought they were gonna die. I'm not gonna lie,
I
because of what
thought
we
so
just
too.
saw with X
Yep.
Force, like it's they can
Yeah.
do that. But I did feel like to the points that you guys were saying, I felt like they took the cast offs of the Fox universe and gave them more of a prominent role. The Elektra. A lot of people forgot about Blade because he was so long ago. Obviously with Channing Tatum as well. They definitely took the cast offs and gave them more of a shine. Is there any cameos that you guys were disappointed though that didn't show up though? Because they did mention a lot via exposition and stuff like that, like the Magnetos, Punisher, Daredevil. Is there anybody that you wish would have shown up?
I thought that there was a good chance Professor X was showing up because they
Mhm.
kept talking about him, but he didn't. And I don't want to say disappointed, but I was like kind of looking for him by the middle of the movie because they kept talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any. I know they mentioned they tried to get Robert Downey Jr. and his schedule just didn't align. I don't think. I think he would have been too big for the movie. Like Chris Evans is huge, and aside from Chris Evans and Henry Cavill, which was a blink and you'll miss it kind of a cameo,
Hmm.
any of the other bigger stars, I think would have kind of cheapened it a little bit. I think what they had was really perfect. I think again, Robert Downey Jr. would have if you had RDJ in the place of Happy Hogan, it sets a totally different tone for the movie. and it's too much. Like they sprinkled that office with so many tiny little hidden Easter eggs, and I saw people saying online that the reason that Tom Holland's pick was hidden is because nobody remembers him. But that's 2018 that happened. That's before nobody remembers him. So maybe they just didn't want to pay to have Tom Holland's picture in the movie, but they hit it just perfectly. I think any other cameos would have been too much.
Yeah, I'm right there.
My-
I think it's quality over quantity, though.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think the biggest cameo that I wish was in this movie who didn't show up was James Marsden. I think if
Same.
anybody deserves to have
Yeah.
his moment to rectify the wrongs done to him is James Marsden. Like the Cyclops, and I'm not a big Cyclops fan. Like I'm not, the do-gooder superhero. That's just never been my thing. But boy, they did that character so wrong in the Fox X-Men universe. And I just think he deserves, that moment, a moment, just to kind of, what, I existed, because they gave it to they gave Elektra her moment. She deserves it too. But I think Scott Summers, James Marsden, Cyclops deserved, a moment in the movie to kind of rectify, the Fox wrongdoings of that character.
And to be honest with you, I don't believe that there's a universe where that call wasn't made. And the same call was made to probably Ben Affleck as well for Daredevil. I think that those calls are made, but they just didn't work out.
I respect it.
Yeah, scheduling stuff gets in the way. They get busy and stuff like that. Yeah, but to the Gambit, back to the Gambit point, they've been trying to talk about him since 2013. So I'm sure when they called and he picked up the phone, he was probably like, hell yeah, I'm all for this. So
the interesting thing about that is that when I heard that Channing Tatum was possibly going to be playing Gambit, I thought it was a terrible idea in the first place. Just because I'm like, that he's not Cajun. He does like nothing about Channing Tatum tells me Gambit. So when he shows up and he's playing Gambit, it's like, that's actually how I thought it was going to look. So that kind of validated my feelings about it. But it was done in such a funny way that I enjoyed the cameo.
I thought for sure we'd get another X-Men.
Almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men.
Thought for sure if you're bringing this Wolverine in, I thought you'd get like either James Marsden to have one last time of them kind of going at it a little bit, Scott and Wolverine. I thought Charles Xavier was definitely a possibility. I was kind of hoping we would get Magneto. So when they said he's dead, I was like, shoot, that's a little bit of a disappointment. But I think like within movie to kind of changing it up a little bit, Lady Deadpool was a little bit of because they just built it up so much, right? They started with the image of her feet walking, then they moved up to the body, then they gave us the full frame, and it was like, ooh, Taylor Swift, Blake Lively, and when they pop up and then they get into that big fight and she just like gets knocked out by Wolverine, like the very first one, I was like, oh, okay, so we're not gonna know who it is. And that was all this one big tease. And then in the credits I saw that it was Blake Lively, so kind of a little bit of a letdown in that kind of way, just because they built it up themselves in the marketing. But as far as the rest of the cameos, I think it would have been overkill to add too many people. But I would have liked to have seen Jessica Alba come back as Sue Storm with Chris Evans. I think that could have been a fun dynamic to see one last time, kind of thing. But in the multiverse somewhere.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. James Marsden was probably the biggest one for me. I don't like to sit here and say like, I would have done this differently, but during that one sequence where Nova's in his head and you see the gravestones of all the X-Men, it would have been dope if one of them popped out there. I would have been like, yo, that was dope. But obviously, it's a tone that they set, and it was a good overall movie in general. All right, action sequences and jokes. Let's get into that, right? This movie, the reason you go to see this movie obviously is, Deadpool Wolverine, but the action sequences as well. What did you guys think overall about the action?
The action was phenomenal. I mean, the movie starts off with the kick at like that TVA fight was amazing. Like he goes through, he says, I'm not going to use my weapon once, and he uses weapon X a whole bunch. And like it was such a great scene. I thought the action The Wolverine and Deadpool fights, that was phenomenal. I thought the final fight was a little underwhelming when they went through all the Deadpools.
Yeah.
Like it was the single shot. That was cool, but it was something a little bit off about it. As far like in reference to the other fights in the movie, the other fights in the movie were fantastic. Getting to see Gambit use his powers in the movie, like when Blade, Elektra, and X-23, when they're all fighting and against Lady Deathstrike and all of the old villains and Pyro. That was a cool fight, and once again, seeing Gambit use those cards was phenomenal. And he hits he hits the guy with the staff and blows him up, I thought that phenomenal use of everyone's powers. But I just thought, yeah, the Deadpool core, I thought great idea, great execution up until the fight. The fight just didn't live up to the rest of the fights in the movie to me. But other than that, that car scene, one of the best fights I think I've ever seen in any movie, not just a Deadpool movie. It was so fun. It was so like they went at each other, and of course their healing factors lend to the fact that they would just, man, like you have to see it. Like if you haven't seen it, everybody here who's watching spoiler talk has seen it. Watch it again. It's that good of a damn fight, man. It's such a great fight. But yeah, other than the last scene, and that still wasn't like, I'm not saying it was bad. It just didn't live up to the rest of the fight scenes and the action sequences in the movie to me.
I like that part though. Like putting on the cowl was definitely a clapping moment when he put on the mask.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fan of those one takes, and even the brief Stan Lee poster that was on the bus was pretty dope too. So I'm a big fan of that.
I mentioned it earlier, and T just mentioned it. The car scene was top of the line. The opening scene was great. The car scene was for me the best fight scene of the whole movie. The final fight scene in the void, I liked it. I thought they did a little bit too many quick cuts away.
Yeah,
And
me too.
they didn't really focus on the characters. Gambit got a lot of focus, but they didn't really focus on Blade too much. And he's fighting Azazel, which is a great little thing there because but they didn't stay with that long enough. The end fight scene was good, but again, the car scene was the best for me. But the quick cuts in that last fight in the void, it takes you out of it a little bit. It's still good, but it was too much with the quick cuts.
Do you think that was
Marvel
to
does
cover up Jennifer Gardner and Wesley Snipes just a little bit? I mean, it's been a little bit since they've been in an action role with these superheroes.
Maybe, yeah. It was good. Don't get me wrong. I really did enjoy it, but you definitely could tell, having watched so many movies now and paying more attention to fight scenes and whatnot and seeing where there's cuts, that was a little bit too quick.
Yeah,
I
I
can
get you.
definitely understand that. Yeah.
Because that seems to be Marvel's strategy a lot. They do the quick cuts, what I'm saying, to kind of either hide a body double or, save on the special effects budget, stuff like that. They tend to do that. That's why I could appreciate the one takes like they did with the bus scene, or even like the bus scene in Shang-Chi, or even in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Stuff like that to me is cleaner.
Yeah, I thought the movie peaked early. That opening scene was like my favorite, probably my favorite scene in the entire Deadpool franchise. I thought it was so creative the way that they used the skeleton of Logan that he dug up, trying to say bring him back to life, which I thought was hilarious. The way he used his body to take down those TVA agents. I thought the violence was incredibly gory and bloody and totally Deadpool. The use of NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye,
God, I should have asked NSYNC.
which I'm a big boy band fan, so that was
Same.
such a perfect touch for me personally. I love the use of that. And you had Ryan, well, it wasn't Ryan Reynolds, apparently he had a stunt double, but you had Deadpool in intercut doing the moves from the music video, which was just like the cherry on top for me. I thought that was hilarious. And yeah, just like when he got the Wolverine hands and stabbed the one guy in the groin and the one guy in the butt, and that was hard to watch a little bit, but it was also really funny. And then the runner up for me would be that car fight. That car fight was so incredibly well choreographed and so creative and staged so well. And the way that they used just that tiny confined space to all of its advantage was fantastic. It actually made me want to buy a Honda Odyssey, to be honest.
Shameless plug on that on their end. You know, they just
Yeah.
kept plugging that in. And even later in the movie, like when he fell on the car, it's like, this has got to be a Kia. Like they're just taking shots left and right. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Very creative fight sequences, and that's usually what tends to win me over. And then with these two characters, because of their regenerative abilities, you can be as brutal and gory as you want to be with no repercussions.
So I am in line with Frank and Zach. I thought that it did peak early. I thought the car fight scene was incredible. I love the way, I love the moments leading up to that fight, because that's what makes that fight great. Is all the Wolverine cursing Deadpool out and really telling him about himself leading up to that fight. I thought that was great, right? So that fight actually had meaning and it made a lot of sense. And I really want a Funko Pop, a hot toy, whatever, of Deadpool having those Wolverine claws on in the first fight sequence, because it just looks so cool. Like the title card that they had, it was just incredible. I love that. However, those last two fights, the ones with the quick cuts and the one with all the Deadpools, I kind of felt like they were a little bit lackluster. And not only that, but to tell you the truth, I think I love the performance that the actress, I forget her name, who played Nova, gave. I thought her performance was great, but I thought that she was just stunted, because they built her up to be super powerful, and then they couldn't do anything with her because she was super powerful. Like they made her a bigger problem than the movie could handle, right? So because when she rips Chris Evans' skin off, Johnny Storm's skin off, like after that, like what do you do to tame her? And obviously it was the Juggernaut. I was so happy to see the Juggernaut. I don't know why, because I hated that movie, but I was so happy to see the Juggernaut. That was really cool. But Cassandra Nova, like her whole thing was kind of it got tame after the beginning. They made her like, she's like, she'll kill everybody, and then it was just like she kills nobody after Chris Evans. So I thought it was, but I will say the fingers through the skull.
She killed Pyro.
She did kill Pyro. You're right. The fingers through the skull thing, I don't know about you, it made me deeply uncomfortable in the best way. It was like, oh, this is awful, and they did a good job with it. So I did think, like, the last two fights weren't great. I would have loved to see more variation or variants rather of the Deadpool's army, because they had a couple variations, but then a lot of them just looked like regular Deadpool. But yeah, other than that, I thought that for the most part it was serviceable, is what I can give it for sure.
Yeah, got you. Couple more things. Is there anything that you guys didn't like about this movie?
I mean, I didn't. Everybody's mentioned it too. I didn't go in expecting this to be some deep, meaningful movie that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. Like Spider-Man: No Way Home had like really, really heavy, deep parts that you're going to take with you. This didn't really have that. Some Logan moments. It did drag a tiny little bit in a couple of places, and they could have probably quickened some things up and shortened some stuff. But I mean, I saw it twice. I probably won't see it a third time unless it's like, I catch it on TV while I'm playing a video game and I put it on, like I watch The Office. I'll put The Office on a monitor and let that play in the background all night long. And I won't see it a third time, but I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Again, I guess the biggest thing would be the quick cuts in that final void fight scene is really the biggest negative for me on it. And that's not even that bad.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a couple things. I think the emotional elements that they were trying to do, the balance wasn't quite right. I feel like a lot of it was tackled through exposition, mostly used by the villain, getting inside their minds and then just telling us what Wolverine's going through. And I don't want to take away from Hugh Jackman's performance, because he did show us that Wolverine was going through a lot through his performance, but all of the kind of reveals were told through her and her exposition. I thought the stuff with Deadpool and Vanessa was really shoehorned in and kind of came in sparsely, and it just didn't have the impact I think they were looking for. The villain was quite weak. I do think that some of the cameo moments, like once you got past the reveal of who was in it, some of the scenes didn't quite hit exactly right for me. I think the scene with Logan and X-23 outside talking at the fire was sweet, but I feel like there could have just been a little bit more to add that extra emotional punch. And the TVA, I think, is something that Marvel still it's too clunky for me. The TVA stuff is too clunky. I thought the whole idea of the anchor in the universe, and when that's gone, it deteriorates. That was a whole other new element once again added to the TVA. There's just so many rules they keep creating for the TVA that I feel like they didn't quite have a handle on it enough. They did subvert my expectations because I thought TVA was coming to get him because he time traveled through in Deadpool 2, and I thought they had the perfect happy accident for that to work. And they decided to kind of say, "You did that, but that's not why we're here." And I feel like if they maybe stood with that, it might have worked a little bit better. I do have a theory that maybe Secret Wars is going to have to do with that anchor idea, because Iron Man's got to be the anchor of the 616 universe, right? Like Iron Man's dead. They said that the universe deteriorating can take up to 1,000 years, so maybe that plays into Secret Wars. I don't know, but I think some of the TVA stuff it didn't quite fit. It worked for the plot device to get Deadpool and Wolverine together. It worked well enough, but as a whole, I wasn't really even into the performance of Mr. Paradox, the actor there. I thought it was fine, pretty cliche, pretty predictable. But yeah, that's kind of where a lot of my negatives kind of stand.
Literally ditto everything Zach said. So I know like a lot of people are super hype about this movie, and you should be because it's a lot of fun. But there are a lot of issues with this movie for me that kind of took it down quite a bit the more I got away from it. The Vanessa thing is one of them. I watched I watched both Deadpool's and Logan this week leading into it, and I'm like, Vanessa would never do that or say that to Wade at all. Like, she at no point where she's like, "You're selfish." I don't see that happening. I don't see him being driven to try to join the Avengers because of something Vanessa said. Like, that part of it was weak for me. And on top of that, like the exposition that you were mentioning, Zach, with Cassandra Nova, I really wanted more show, not tell, with everything that Logan had gone through, because at the very beginning, smartly and incredibly intelligently, they established this is not Logan from Logan, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that was great because that just helps us be like, oh, that was a different situation. Like, we can leave that lie where it is. But once you do bring in a new Wolverine, show me what he's been through. Like, show me the things that actually happened. Because now you're telling me that. I'll give him credit. I did love the yellow suit thing where they were like, the reason why I'm wearing it is because I never wore it when I had them. That's brilliant. But show me more of that. So ditto most of what, actually all of what Zach said, in terms of those emotional beats. Oh yeah, and the anger thing. I was just kind of like, all right, like, cool, because with the MCU through Phase 4 has introduced so many new concepts that now I'm just kind of like, whatever. Whether it's Talo or the clandestine or the millions of different ways you can get into the multiverse, whether it's a broken spell or America Chavez, which those aren't necessarily issues, but I think one of the issues that and the quantum verse, I think one of the issues that the MCU has is nobody knows how the multiverse actually works. So we don't know what are the rules. You can't. I can't like develop an idea or conceptualize danger or success if I don't know what the rules are. So nobody knows what the rules are, and then we have an anchor, right? So, and I think you are right. And Iron Man's for sure the anchor. But I hope that comes up, because if you mention that, make it count somewhere down the line. And also, someone else I know mentioned this. Like, they kind of just fixed it. Like, is Wolverine the anchor in Deadpool's universe now? It's like it's just fixed. That's it. Just
I
bring
didn't
in
get
another
that
Wolverine.
either.
That doesn't make any sense.
Or is
But
Deadpool anchor in his universe?
Well,
no, they said
he wasn't. They said he wasn't.
Yeah, they said he wasn't. They said the
What?
Logan that
Is he lying
was
though?
in,
Like, I don't know.
I don't know. And also, exactly what you said, Mr. Paradox. Your motivations, I just want to do this faster. That's it? That's your motivation.
Yeah.
That's the end of it? Okay. Cool. You're just impatient. You just want to end the universe faster instead of waiting. Why does that bother you? What for what reason would that have anything to do with you? So
And why did he care
yeah.
about saving Deadpool? Like, why did he want Deadpool to join the sacred timeline in the first
That's
place?
true.
I was so confused of that too. I didn't understand why. Like, what was the reasoning? Like, they said that they've been surveilling him, but they never said like what they saw in him. They just saw like, oh,
That's
you
true.
don't think you matter? Do you want to
Yeah.
matter? And I was like, really? Like, that's
Right.
it. That's why you're bringing this unhinged. You've been surveilling him. You should know what you're getting into.
He's
with
not
this
the person
guy.
that you want to bring into anything, right?
Yeah,
So,
that didn't make sense to me, and I
yeah.
also didn't understand the Deadpool why all the Deadpools at the end were trying to stop them.
Yeah.
That didn't make sense to me either.
But as I've ended all these conversations that I had with friends in like a spoiler chat that I'm a part of, but it was still fun. Like I have all these issues, but I still had a good time. But there's a lot of issues. And that's it.
Yeah. For me, I think, touched on it on Zach's channel a little bit. Story wise, it was pretty basic. You know what I'm saying? It didn't really try to reinvent anything. It didn't like give you some super intricate plot, but it wasn't trying to do that. I'm okay with it being more, even though it's a small scale story, but not compared to Deadpool because it's bigger, you know what I'm saying, what's going on with the multiverse and stuff like that. But it was still what I should say is it's very self-contained. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really trying to do anything super over the top.
Yeah, my biggest gripe with the movie was just the misuse of Cassandra Nova. I just thought she was just too much of an overpowered supervillain to get bested by Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I just like in no world I think that she would get bested by those two alone. Like it would take every X person, that you can muster up to take Cassandra Nova. And I mean, other than that, like, and to me, that was a nitpick. My tag on YouTube, I'm the overly emotional movie reviewer. And the reason why I really say that it's not even about crying, because that's kind of my running joke. But it's really just like how a movie makes me feel. Like you guys have discussed all these different plot holes, and I don't think of that stuff when I'm watching a movie. Like I don't go into it critically, just like, and that's why I don't consider myself a movie critic, because I'm not overly critical on these movies, right? You said 500 different things that was wrong, and it was fun. That's cool. Like I go in to have a good time. If I don't have a good time, then I have a problem. Like if I'm going into a movie to have fun and it's a Deadpool and Wolverine movie and I don't have fun, then I would have a major issue with the movie. But I had a great time. Like, yes, is the right like I could pick out a plot hole in anything. Like there's no such movie that has just perfect. Oh, it's the smartest movie ever. Like those movies don't exist because there's always a crux. There's always something that just isn't based in reality, like that would just, oh man, that doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, like I had a great time watching this movie, right? For any flaw that anybody could think of. Yes, it was slow in a few parts of it, but like it the rest of it made up for it. Like everything made it like as a whole, I just thought the movie was fantastic. Is it perfect? No. But like no, nothing is perfect. Like we're not gonna find, even an end game, which I love, that movie is flawed in so many different ways. But boy, when Cap picks up when that camera goes to Cap, I forget everything else that was bad about that movie. Like every single time I watch it, when Cap says Avengers Assemble, any issue that I had with that movie is gone. Like that's just the way my brain works, man. And that's how it was with this movie. Not perfect, but I had a blast, man. It was so much fun. It was silly, it was serious, but it was just a perfect combination of both.
Yeah. I mean, because any of these movies can be picked apart. If we want to use logic, there's no logic in a superhero movie.
No.
That's the biggest thing that I hate from content creators. Who are like, this would never happen. Dude, it's science fiction.
It's a comic
Like,
book movie.
can
Like,
we just
yeah, like,
enjoy it? Like, come on. All right. So before we get out of here, guys, I got to know, since I introduced a new segment on our channel when I do the reviews, My favorite part. I gotta know what you guys' favorite part is and what's your favorite joke. Zach, how did you feel about that Canada joke in there? You know they had to throw one in there.
Loved it. My audience cheered. My audience cheered, and a little bit of a Will Smith
Exactly.
little
Oh, yeah.
thing in there too. Get my country's name out of your mouth. Yeah, my audience cheered. It was great. It was really good.
Did you have a favorite part?
My favorite part, like it honestly was the beginning. It honestly was the beginning. When I went and saw this again last night, I was so excited just for that opening scene. Like I said, it's the music that's just right for me. The action was incredible, and it was just fully and perfectly Deadpool. If I had to pick another one, it would also be the reveal of Chris Evans. I thought that reveal was done so well, and that scene was fun when Pyro takes all the flame out of him, and he falls and cracks his nuts and falls on his neck, like all that stuff. That slapstick, it really worked for me too. I laughed pretty loud at that too. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I really did.
Um, the Chris Evans reveal is up there along with the Gambit reveal, just because it was so far out of left field. But the car fight scene again, that to me, slapping the head on the radio and changing the tune, and there was a brief the song that Jackman sings in his
Greatest Showman.
Famous Showman. It was like a split second of that, and honestly, as much as that last Deadpool scene was a little off, not off, but it was a little too much. The use of the Madonna song was so well
Mhm.
done throughout the whole thing, and I had read a thing where they had met with her to ask her about using the song, and she gave them ideas. That knowing that, watching that scene was like, "Oh, okay." But I think overall the car fight scene was just, as someone who has owned a minivan in the past, it was great.
Are you gonna try out some of those fight scenes next time
I
you're
don't
in the
think so.
minivan?
I don't own a minivan again. I think those days are behind me.
So there's a scene, and I'm gonna go watch the movie again just so I can remember. There's a scene towards the end where they're at the dinner table, and Puck, the ball guy he told him early in the
Oh,
movie he's not supposed to have a speaking line, and he says something. I can't remember what he says. It's like, "What are you ad-libbing right now?" And I don't know why I thought that was hilarious. It was like he just says like one thing, and it was probably something profound too. But it's like everybody's like, "What?" It's like,
He said
what are you ad?
he said menopause.
menopause. Oh yeah.
Menopause, right?
He said the word menopause.
Yeah, because
So
they
what
had
are
already
you
warned
ad?
him saying don't no speaking lines for you. They did that in Deadpool
Yes.
2 and they reminded him in this one.
And I just thought, I don't know why I thought that was hilarious. I'm like I was the only person in the theater just laughing like out loud because of that one little scene. Then in the car scene, like when like up until that point, and you guys may be real conscious about or think about it more during the Zach Mills members chat when you talk about how Deadpool just doesn't stop with the jokes, right? And I just know, like, he literally would just keep going. Like, it doesn't matter what's happening, he just never stops. But Wolverine finally shut him up. And that moment where he turned around and looked at him and said, "I'm gonna fight you right now." I thought that was such a dope, like that whole. I was just like, wow, he finally got him. Somebody finally got him to shut up for 1 second. And then that led to the best fight in the movie. So yeah, that the car scene, like I said, that one got me.
Yeah, the car scene, great fight. I would say for me, the best joke in the film was when Deadpool turned. I can't remember what. I think it was Logan, or Wolverine, who he turned to, and he said, "You joined Marvel at the downturn."
Yes. Welcome to
I
the
love
FU.
that. Yeah, what's funny about that, and the reason why I love it so much is because number one, it's super self-aware of the MCU to say, "Hey, we know that this isn't working," and then Deadpool makes another joke later on in the movie about, "Yeah, the multiverse thing just isn't working." Like you guys, but I think the thing that's smart about it is that we're literally in a multiverse movie while we're having this conversation. So they're saying, "Hey, we know that the past wasn't great, but we're still like working on this and working to make it better." And I thought that that was so smart that it was like my favorite part of the film. It's just like, oh, we're doing something really intelligent right now. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. For me it would be that, like I said, when he put on the mask. As far as my favorite part, I like the
Oh
one take
yeah.
action scene. It's just because like the music set the tone too. Great soundtrack too, by the way. You know, when they Ti bring it out, that was phenomenal. Just you didn't think that certain songs would go good to killing MFers, but it just does. You know what I'm saying? Like it works. As far as favorite funny part, there's a few of them. The one with Gambit, where he's like, "My name's Gambit," and he's like, "You want them to call you that, but we really know they don't really want to." Was sort of a shot at him. Um, the Canada one was funny. The one where he goes to the camp, where he runs to the camera, and he's like, "F you, Fox." He's like, "I'm going to Disneyland." Like, "F
I
off."
forgot about
That
that.
that was hilarious. It was just so many parts. Like after he put on the cowl, he was like, I get like a catty bitch when I'm jealous and stuff like that. It's just the jokes were flying at full force, and like it was just such a good time. What's your grade on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you guys give it?
7.
I'm at an 8.
I'm at an 8.
7.5.
I'm at a 9. I really enjoyed this. So,
Nice.
well, look, guys, I do appreciate each and every one of you for popping in here. Let's go down the line. Tell them where they can find you at.
Well, you can find me at the Have You Seen That with T YouTube channel. Also, I have a letterbox. Have you seen that? I have not done a video in quite a while, but I'm going to record my spoiler-free Deadpool and Wolverine review right after this.
Before I say that, I just want to say there was a gig I forgot about, and that was Nice Pool. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
I thought Nice Pool worked really well
Yeah.
with Dog Pool and everything, and I thought that was great when he got shot up and he's like, "I think I'm hit," and the blood comes out, and then you find out he can't regenerate. I thought that was hilarious.
He wasn't really trying to save him. We know he wasn't.
Oh no,
He,
no, not
he
at all.
wanted the dog and the guns.
Wolverine knew it. You murdered him. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I'm Zach. You can find me at Zach Millen Talks Movies. We do movie reviews, we do rankings, we do a live show every Wednesday where we talk about movie news happening in the business. It's a lot of fun, and hope that you join us.
Every Monday night, Geek Spot News. We haven't done any actual videos. We just do live podcasts. I do it with my friend Jack. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. We've done a ton of episodes, and I think we have one video that we finally actually uploaded that has nothing to do with movies or pop culture. It was a wrestling video, which is even funnier.
Nice.
So I'm Kenny Sparks at Kenny Sparks on YouTube. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, interviews with fellow YouTubers, as well as retroactive reviews for movies from way in the past. So I'm working on one right now for Logan's Run from '76, and just like T, right after this review or right after this live, I actually be recording my spoiler review of Deadpool and Wolverine, and that should be out hopefully by Tuesday. But yeah, thank you so much, Ace, for having me on.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, man.
Well, look, I appreciate you guys, man. Make sure everybody that's watching go like and subscribe to all their channels. All great guys. Their links will be down in the description below. A great group of guys. Glad you guys finally got a chance to hop on the channel for the first time, and we'll definitely be doing some more stuff in the future. Those are those guys. You guys know who I am. It's yours truly, the Ace. Get your Ace Avenue merchandise at spreadshot.com. Appreciate you guys. But as always, thank you for tuning in to the Ace Avenue. I'm yours truly, the Ace. Adios.